Hey everybody, I'm back. This is Tintim, that is T-I-N as in Neptune is a place on Earth. T-I-M as in Mars is the god of war and I want him inside me. I don't know. I am America's first drag queen public intellectual, aka the Cornell motherfucking West of drag. Although I am thinking about rethinking that tagline maybe, I don't know. The truth is, I never planned or set out to be to styling myself as like an academic drag queen. It's sort of just a thing that happened by accident. And, cultural criticism is very important to me, but, art is even more important to me. The process of making art to me is about getting, consumed by something and not necessarily analyzing it, and I want to be able to do both through Tintim. So if you guys have an idea for another tagline, whatever it's called, maybe I'll have a little contest or something. But anyway, I thought since the cast list for season 7 of RuPaul's Drag Race was announced, I would come in with a video talking about what my thoughts are on the queens and things to potentially expect this season and all of that. But first I wanted to give you a few updates about one of my favorite topics, which is me. So if y'all are just tuning in for the Drag Race part, you can skip ahead to the timestamp that's flashing on your screen. I can't tell you it because I don't know what it's going to be yet. But for those of you who have followed me for a long time and are my fans, I want to address one of the questions that I get most frequently, which is where have you been? So where have I been? I think the last time we talked was Bianca Del Rio's crowning, right? Which was when Bianca Del Rio's head poked itself out of RuPaul's vagina, and everyone was all like, no, kill it with fire! Right around the same time, I finished grad school, so I have a master's degree now in youth development. And then shortly after that, I was super busy for most of the summer with my full-time day job work, which some of you know I like to say is basically walking children in nature. But what I really do is most of the time I'm actually sitting at a desk, except for a brief period during the summer. I manage a pre-college, college preparatory program for high school students who are interested in sustainability issues, so environment and social issues, and making positive change in the world. And we do it on the campus of Oberlin College during the summer. So immediately when I was done with grad school, I was revving up to do the first summer. Our first summer, we debuted at the summer of that, which was kind of all-consuming. And then since then, until at least late September, I was only at home in Chicago for a week at a time, maybe, or 2 weeks at a time. I also had a lot of travel with family, visiting our family in Seattle on the West Coast in Seattle. So, and my parents in Colorado. But so here's a funny story: is in September I chaperoned our daughter, who I think I've talked about our daughter in previous videos. But if y'all aren't aware, my partner and I have a daughter for whom he's the biological father that he was a donor for to friends of his that he went to college with, and we visit probably or see her. She comes here 6-7 times a year. So her school, they go on a an outing once a year to somewhere in the outdoors, so walking children in nature again. And 3 years in a row now, I've been one of the adult parents chaperoning that event. So I went out to do that in September. And so it was totally true Beverly Hills. All the kids just called me Phyllis. And we had badges in, jewelry appraisal, the whole deal. No, not really. But one thing that did happen was I taught a bunch of the kids at our daughter's school, and she's in the 5th grade now, so it was a bunch of friggin' 5th graders, which actually is a fun age. They're not scary middle schoolers yet. We'll see next year. But I taught a bunch of the 5th graders this game that I actually got from my sister Paige and her friend Kayla. She sings Taylor Swift songs in a British accent, right? So you're all you pick a song and then you're all we are never, ever, ever getting back together. So I got all the 10-year-olds doing it, and of course they loved it. I got home, and so like then a few weeks later I get a thank you card from the whole class. And well, first of all, our daughter told me that I got more signatures in my thank you card. Thank you very much, than any of the other adult chaperones. But also all these little kids made these funny comments about Taylor Swift. So I'm grateful that I could, I don't know, bring that joy into their lives or something. I'm not actually that big a Taylor Swift fan. I just think that game is like kind of hilarious, and I don't know. We had a similar game actually that my best friend and I in high school back in the day used to sing the what we would call the Cher Alanis game, where we would sing Alanis Morissette songs in a Cher voice. So you know, it'd be like, you ought to know what I'm here to remind you. It works really well. So Cher Alanis game, Taylor Swift game, if you're bored. This fall, my partner and I also had a week-long vacation in New Mexico, which was fabulous and awesome. It was our first non-family related travel since like 2009 or something, and was much needed. So that brings me to my last bit of news, and then I promise I will talk about RuPaul's Drag Race, and that is my short story collection, which is called This Is a Dance Movie, is finally coming out. It's been in it's been forthcoming for a couple of years, actually. It's forthcoming finally in April. It'll be published by a small micropress called Tiny Hardcore Press. That's a press started by Roxanne Gay, who's a friend of mine who is now a pretty friggin' well-known feminist critic from her book Bad Feminist, much of which started with a lot of online columns, places like salon.com. So some of you may be familiar with her. But I've been friends with her since like 2010, before she suddenly became a big enough personality to have a verified Twitter account, which was kind of like a head trip for me. But anyway, the book is should be really fun, really funny. It's got a lot of pop culture in it. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of kinkiness and crazy sex stuff. So stay tuned for that. I will be sure to announce via video at some point when it is available for pre-order, and I hope that some of you all will read it and help me sell the shit out of it, because that would be super, super, I'd be really grateful for that. But let's talk about RuPaul's Drag Race Season 7. That's a lucky number, right? I want to start by doing some broad strokes in terms of like what it seems like the kind of like themes or dynamics or whatever of like this season are going to be, and like what, you know, what I'm excited about or leery of or what have you. My sense is that this is going to be a little bit of a departure from recent years, in that especially last year there were a lot more quote unquote like well-known queens, right? Now I mean I guess like part of me is like, what is a well-known drag queen? No drag queens are that well-known, but like, what does that mean? But I guess it's queens with which the fan base of Drag Race would kind of already be familiar. So this season feels like a huge shift from that, in that like really one of the only queens like that is Miss Fame, who I think a lot of people know through YouTube. And the most of the others are kind of your ordinary, quote-unquote, bar queens, regular, professional, working drag queens. And so there's a lot of queens this season who are from some smaller towns, from out of the way places that haven't been as represented. I shouldn't say small towns, that's sort of bitchy, but smaller cities, right? Still big cities. There's a Minneapolis girl, there's a Nashville girl, there's Orlando, there's we've had Rochester before because of Pandora and Darien Lake, but Rochester's still kind of a more regional, quote-unquote, location. Arizona, Iowa City. So I'm actually kind of excited about that, because I think that it makes it feel a lot more like it's kind of anyone's game, and anything could happen, and we don't really know what the dynamics necessarily will be. And, you know, the drawback, I don't know if I'd say drawback, the concern for me is always, right, like, I think in order to function on this stage and to be America's Next Drag Superstar, or a superstar on a broader platform, if you will, like, you need to be more singular than just what it takes to be really successful in your home bar, I think, right? So there are a lot of queens that on first glance seem like really, really well executed but very typical drag. What's the thing that's sort of setting them apart? And I don't necessarily see that yet right now. They seem really, really well at doing a form or a thing that's already established, right? But I don't think that means they can't, right? Like, I think that's going to be the fun of it, is seeing how some of these queens that haven't maybe been pushed into these other media and like trying weird stuff that you have to do in Drag Race challenges to see how they react to that and how they grow and who pulls some crazy surprises out that we would never expect from them. One of the other kind of overall things was when I was watching and I bet you won't hear anyone else say this, so this is my one unique contribution to the season 7 video, whatever, preview, review, shitstorm. As I was watching, there were like 3 or 4 girls who did a lot of like Jesus and God talk, which I love. There was like Ginger Minge with her I'm a cross-dresser for Christ, and Jaden Dior Fierce also made a reference, like the 3 things she'd have on the desert island with her. One of them was like blessings from the Lord. I love that, and I'm probably fetishizing it a little bit or something, like as a northerner, as a Yankee, but there's something about that kind of like Southern gay culture that's sort of where the sort of religiosity is just kind of part of the world you live in, like more in the air or something, that I just I like love. So I'm really hoping that some of that filters into the show and we have some great like Latrice Royale, Jesus is a Biscuit-esque take us to church moments, because I will live for that. So that's the one thing I bet no one else will tell you, is that they loved the God talk in the Meet the Queens videos and that they are hoping for more. Right? Blah, 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 blah. The next thing I wanted to talk about is, in terms of talking about the different queens, is starting with the 2 that I sort of know already. Pearl and Trixie Mattel are both from Chicago or perform regularly in the Chicago area. Trixie Mattel still lives in Milwaukee, but is here almost every weekend in Chicago performing. Pearl, I think Chicago can still claim her. I've actually been sort of annoyed in all of the promo videos that they're calling her a Brooklyn girl, because literally I think she only lived in Brooklyn like a few months before the show taped, and I know for a fact, I'm almost positive for a fact, she still lived in Chicago during the audition period. So I think Chicago gets to claim her. Pearl, I first met in like the fall of 2012. I think was around the time I think I met her like her 2nd or 3rd night going out. And she and Kimchi, where was I going with? Oh, I met Kimchi and Pearl the same night. I think it was just their 2nd night out in drag or something. And they both sort of emerged into Chicago nightlife already looking just amazing and flawless. So these amazing visions appear, and Pearl had this like long blonde curly hair that was just epic, and this like, you know, that paint that she does, and it's changed a little bit since then, but it's always been like intense precision and crazy contouring and all of it, and I was just like, what? And I actually thought they were like really established queens from out of town visiting Chicago. It was around Halloween, so it was Halloween drag, I guess, but neither of them looked like Halloween drag girls at all, right? Like they look like established girls. Then they sort of immediately thereafter started both in their own way taking over Chicago drag, and I think that Chicago was much better for it because they brought in this level of art drag and sophistication. Right before she left for several months, she was hosting a new event here, a new drag night, that was really unique in terms of bringing together a diversity of different styles and identities, and I really think that that's such an important contribution and want to give her like major credit for that. The other thing about Pearl is visually, fashion-wise, she is flawless. I will be honest that the very first time I saw her perform, I was sort of like, oh, I'm not sure how much stage presence there is there, but over time her performances impressed me more and more in that she isn't, you know, that big out there, connect with the audience, showy type, and it seemed like there was a way in which she like recognized that and then made up for it by doing creative things with the way she used the stage and the way she used her character and persona. For instance, she's got this like kind of, you know, robot thing she does sometimes. She's got some other sort of stage motions. To me, that says Pearl is like very savvy and intelligent about recognizing her strengths and limitations, and then you know, working with what she has to deliver something satisfying in terms of entertainment. And so I hopefully that will like translate into her finding a way, even when a challenge isn't in her natural comfort zone, to still doing something memorable and interesting with it, because I think she's very capable of that. And I look forward to seeing what she does. Trixie Mattel is probably, I would say, like, my favorite, favoritist favorite. What Trixie said in her Meet the Queens video about other queens telling her that she had a really unique, really distinctive, really individual, really personal look and style of drag, I think is absolutely true. And I think my weakness is always for creativity, for uniqueness, for people who are really pushing the boundaries and pushing themselves to never be in a rut and to, you know, discover new aspects of the art form. And in that sense, Trixie to me is sort of the most individual and distinctive of any of the queens. I don't think that means you necessarily have to be like a radical departure from what came before, and I think she definitely isn't. Like, she's building on a lot of great theatrical and camp traditions with what she does, but it's also very fresh and very uniquely her, and to me, already iconic, regardless of what happens in the show. So I'm really excited to see her. The other thing about her, if any of you have the opportunity to go see her perform, please do, because when she's performing in Chicago, I always know that will be a satisfying show because of the work that she puts into each performance. I think she's like me in that, like, when she's watching drag and it's just 4 minutes of the same kind of dancing to the same song, like, she gets impatient. So when she constructs her own shows, it's like all about giving the audience a concept or a narrative or a progression across the course of the song to latch onto and make it more entertaining. She splices in like, one of the things she does a lot is she'll, like, find a funny combination of a song and quotes from, like, a movie or some, like, well-known entertainment thing with characters, or, you know, vocal, that she can do the spoken word lip syncing to. And we'll splice them together to create something, like, incredibly creative and incredibly funny. And she's just, like, fucking amazing and delightful to see. So if you have a chance, go. It's interesting because she's not the only camp queen this season, right? We also have two of the really sort of classic old school type of camp queen, with Kasha Davis, who has this, like, celebrity housewife character, and then Tempest de jour from Arizona, who has this very sort of also, like, larger than life kind of Priscilla Queen of the Desert type camp look. To me, they represent the kind of camp drag that it seems like RuPaul is the least connected to or the least into for some reason, which is this kind of, it's like older white men that to me have this constant kind of, like, edge or persona on them where they're always out there with the joke and the thing they're doing, and Kasha is particularly like this, and to me it doesn't necessarily always play well on reality television because it, like, distances you from them, and on reality TV you want to have this thing of, like, inviting people in, and the people that do the best on the show are the ones that people feel like they can have this more human connection with, which is ironic with all of this paint. But I worry about both Kasha and Tempest on that front, and also if they're, like, it doesn't seem like there's probably space for both of them in the competition, so it seems like one of them would probably have to be an early out, and that's unfortunate because they both seem nice enough and all that. I like it when there's that mature perspective on the show, that sort of motherly perspective. I think really adds something, so I hope that we get to have that for as long as we can, because the seasons that don't have it, I really miss it. The other two queens that were exciting to me after the videos, the one that I thought won the Meet the Queens hands down in terms of just having the most, like, naturally funny, not trying too hard, not artificial feeling, but still completely hilarious and, like, compulsively watchable, like you, like, want to immediately rewatch the video over and over again. The person who I thought won that hands down was Katya. People are making the Willem comparison a lot, which I see. I also, the person, interestingly, that I found myself thinking about while I was watching Katya's video was Magnolia Crawford. Not in terms of them being in any way similar, but more so in terms of, I was watching Katya thinking, this is the kind of sort of anti-establishment, sort of punk, over it, not taking it seriously sort of attitude that Magnolia Crawford wanted us to believe she had, minus all of the insecurity and the defensiveness and the sort of wall. Katya was just sort of naturally like, fuck it, and funny. And ironically, by doing that, then came across as more respectful of the viewers and of the space and all of that, while still being sort of like what? I just wanted to raise my booking fee. I'm looking forward to what seems like the sort of just natural, casual humor that she will bring to things that's smart also. And the other really interesting one, I always gravitate toward whoever seems to be like the alt queen of the season. And so it definitely seems like Max is playing that role. And I loved Max's video is interesting to me because I love Max's look. The sort of Cookie from Oz personality didn't entirely connect for me in the Meet the Queens video. I think personas like that can totally work, but it didn't seem all fully baked or something, and it had a little bit of that sense of like trying a little bit too hard. What I would almost like to see more from her is I feel like the sort of quirky fashion alt girl, old vintage fashion girl thing, old Hollywood thing has been done because we had Tammy and we had Jinx. But what we haven't really seen is like an old Hollywood glamour persona that really channeled that kind of I'm ready for my close-up Mr. DeMille, Gloria Swanson, Betty Davis, Joan Crawford kind of theatricality, where it has that more sort of serious or self-serious overtone diva quality. I would enjoy that if she brought any of that to some of those looks. Because to me, part of what I love about camp personality is actually that it isn't just funny, it's also deeply serious. It's just too much in its seriousness, right? So we're simultaneously like laughing at how over the top it is, but also relating to it because as queer people, we always feel like our feelings are too much. And so when, Joan Crawford is screaming and batting her child with a hanger, we're sort of like, ha ha ha, but she's also the one we relate to in the scene, not Christina, because don't we feel that kind of overcome by our shit sometimes or want to be her, whatever. I don't know why I'm talking about all of that. I guess that what set me off was Max's old Hollywood look and sort of fashionness. It seems like there's a lot about Max that we don't know. Like I'm curious about the fact that all of her social media accounts say collective, so I'm wondering if she actually sees her drag as a character or more of a fashion object or something, and if there's like a group of artists or designers she's a part of, like what's the collective thing. And it seems like people haven't been able to turn up a lot about her yet in Google searches and stuff, so I hopefully we'll like learn more. Who else kind of came across strong in their videos? Jaden Dior Fierce, I thought had like a really natural personality on camera. She was doing a lot of that yes honey stuff without having that sort of fakeness to it of someone like Laganja, for instance. Last year it felt like very like kind of a natural scene stealer, so she'll be interesting to watch. I was going to talk about the supposed shit stirrers, right? The two people that people are saying will be stirring up some drama are Jasmine Masters and Violet Chachki. Violet Chachki, you can definitely see in her video. There's that kind of like youthful cockiness, like I'm so flawless and I know everything about fashion and drag, and I don't mind being considered a bitch and all of that. Like she has that quality, so it's easy to see how she could stir up some shit. And it does seem like, just looking at her photographs and videos and performances online, as she has some of the goods to back it up, so that'll be interesting. But the other person that people have said might cause some drama is Jasmine Masters, which you can see if you watch her YouTube videos, which I totally recommend, her on her YouTube channel. You need to look up, I don't know if her name is on the channel, so you need to look up something to say, is that what it's called? Just like, she opens them all by saying, I'm Jasmine Masters, and I got something to say, and then she gives her opinions on a topic, and it's always like this really opinionated, and she's very compelling on video, so I was actually disappointed that she didn't bring more of that swagger and personality to her Meet the Queens video. We were talking about this on Reddit, I think it was on Reddit with some people, about how she seemed like visibly nervous in her video. From watching those YouTube videos, I know that she can be much more kind of like out there and with her opinions. So I think will be really good television if she can bring that, and I'm looking forward to the good TV aspect. Interestingly, the person that she is rumored to have a little with, which could be a completely invented rumor. It's all crazy fan fiction, potentially, right? But is Miss Fame. Because I realized I didn't talk about Miss Fame at all, and she's one of the ones everyone is buzzing about because she's a little better known in internet circles. So my feelings about Miss Fame are I really don't know what to expect from her in terms of any skills other than face and fashion and runway, where she will obviously excel. So seeing how she does in these challenges that test other skills, I don't know that we have any way of knowing whether it'll be she'll be really successful at them, or whether it'll be like wah wah. So I do feel like, and Honey Go Lightly said the same thing in her video. I feel like in terms of the style and the role in the cast and the even down to like the way they paint, both with that wet blended look, the Matthew Anderson ombre eyebrow, she and Pearl have so many similarities that I guess I'll be looking early in the season to see what will like set them apart from each other and whether there's really room for both of them in the competition. So yeah, what haven't I talked about that would be like interesting to talk about? I don't know if I've dressed all the queens. I don't know, with each season that I've done this, I felt like I have your trust more, so I can just blab and don't have to like overdo the preparing for it. So that's kind of what I've been doing. So those of you who've actually sat through this whole thing, thank you. And yeah, I look forward to spending time with you again during season 7. It's been a while, and it's always fun when we can come back together and discuss our favorite show. So, much love to you all. Mwah.